So following on from some of the earlier videos, we now need to keep track of this particle along the line y equals x 10 pi over 8. Remember, this is in our Cartesian form. In parametric form, it would be of this form. So we now need to find the intersection of the straight line, which is this thing here, of the intersection with the straight line, which is this thing here, and our circle. This is our circle. This is our circle. So we got to find the intersection, which would be right here. So we would need to put this into the y. So the idea here is that as c is moving around for a given angle c, we've got to work out x, the x value, this x here, the x value of the intersection of the line and the circle. So when you put this y into here and solve x, it represents this location here, x. It represents this location here, x. And then once we've got our x location where the two intersect, once we've got our x location, we can put it into here, and then the particle would jump to the line because of this thing here. It would jump to the line. So let's start again here. We want to keep track of the intersection of the two. So let's put the y into here. That will then become this, and our job is to work out this x here. Which will represent this location here. Once we've got the location, then we can put it into here, and it will jump to the line. Okay, so our first step is to solve x. X represents this location here, where the line and the circle intersects. So let's try and solve x. So we are currently here. So let's try and solve x. So let's multiply this out. That will then give us this thing here. Multiply this thing out. That will then give us this whole thing here. And then this stays the same. And then now if you look at, well, don't forget this whole thing here is a quadratic form. It's in a quadratic form. It is in effect of this form, plus bx plus c equals 0. You've got your x squared here. Where's the other x squared? Here. And then you've got your x here, and then your x here, and then this is just a constant. This is just a constant. This is just a constant. So it is of this form here. So let's try and tidy this whole thing up here. So looking at x squared, looking at x squared, looking at x squared, let's merge these two blocks together. So factor out the x squared, and then this will become 1, and this will become 10 squared, whatever, pi over 8. So these two blocks will become this. Now let's look at the x. You've got a block of x here and a block of x here. Don't forget the two 2's will cancel each other out. Well, hang on, let me think. Okay, let's tidy this thing up first. Hang on. So the two will cancel each other out, leaving you with this thing here. And then and looking at this thing here, the two 2's will cancel each other out, leaving you with this thing here. And then you've got this thing here and this thing here. What's in common is a squared over 4, a squared over 4. So factor out the a squared over 4, and then you've got your cos squared, which is this thing here, and then you've got your sine squared. And then don't forget, this thing here is the number 1. So tidy this whole thing up. That will then give you this thing here. Okay, so you might have to pause and think about it. Well, anyway, we are currently here. So now now looking at the x, you've got x here and x here. Let me think. Oh, I forgot to mention something, sorry. This thing here is 1, the number 1. So so that this is exactly the same as this, so these two will cancel each other out, giving you 0. And looking at the x, you can factor out the x, leaving you with a cos c, and then this thing here would be this thing here. So that will then take you to here. And then I'm expecting you to have seen this by now. So so you've got 1 plus 10 squared is secant squared. So that will then give you this thing here will then become this. And if you don't understand this, then in Desmos you can keep it as it is without turning it into a secant squared. Well, this thing here is secant squared. That will then take you to here, and then let me think, and then this whole thing here stays the same. So now it's just a matter of solving this. It looks complicated, but it is in a form of something like this: x squared, and then let's say b, and then plus dx equals 0. If you were to solve this, you would just factor out the x plus d equals 0, and then one solution is x equals 0, and the other one is you trying to make this to be 0. Well, the point is let's factor out the x. So that will factor out the x. That will then give you this thing, and then one solution is, well, you've got two bubbles multiplying with each other to give you 0. So either make this to be 0 or make this whole big bubble to be 0. Let's try and make this whole big bubble to be 0. So this bubble, make this thing here to be 0. So x equals this thing here. So we punch this thing here into Desmos. It will keep track of. Hang on, let's try and punch it in there. Oh, wait there. Hang on. I forgot to mention something else as well. So so now we just know the solving this would just give us the x location. Hang on. Solving that would just give us the x location. It would just give us this x location. We now need to put the x into here, and then it would jump to here. So it just gives us the x location. So let's give this a new name. Let's give this, I don't know, let's call it d. Let d equals, hang on, let me scroll back down here. It will make sense when I illustrate in Desmos. So let's call this thing here d, and then later on, once we've got d, we can do this, d tan pi over 8, and it will jump to our line. So our next step within Desmos is to punch this into Desmos here. D equals this thing here. Just assign this new thing here to a new name, d, and then we can put it into the line. So our next step is to have d equals this thing here. So it would be d equals, what was it? A cos c bracket a cos c, and what else? Plus a tan, and then c, and then plus a tan pi over, hang on, pi over 8 sine c, I think. Let's check. A tan pi over 8 sine c, everything divided by secant squared. So everything divided by secant squared. Secant, let me think. Pi divided by 8, and then everything squared. Everything squared. So that this is just a number at the moment. It's just a number. Now we need to we've got the number D here. We need to get it to jump to the line. So we need to do this. So we need to do this. So we need to get it to jump to the line. So that line in parametric form will be D, comma, D tan pi divided by 8, close it off. Hopefully it would jump to the line. There, you can see it jumps to the line there. So now we need to do it with all the other lines, and it takes a while. So our next step, let's call it a new variable name. Let's now look at this negative line here. Hang on. So we've done it for this line here. Let's do it for this line here. Okay. So this line here will be, hang on. This line here would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, it would be 7, I think it would be. Hang on. So let's try and do it for this line here. So I will continue in the next video. I've lost track. I will continue in the next video.